Hey guys, Steve Seymour. Welcome to the Investors Agent Podcast. Today we have Hannah and Tyrone Taylor. Thank you guys for being on today.
Thanks for having us.
All right. So, I like to kick it off, and I think a lot of people always say the saying, work harder, not smarter. And when I hear that in the real estate investing realm, I think of you guys because you guys scaled up really quickly. And we're going to talk about how to get into real estate, which direction to head, and how to scale up.
Okay.
So why don't you guys just tell us a little bit about your journey getting into real estate investing.
Sure.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, I think both of us have always been interested in real estate and kind of had a passion for it. Even when we were looking at buying our first house, we were like, oh, maybe we should house hack and buy an apartment building. But we knew nothing at that time. And unfortunately didn't do that. We should have. But then we took a investing course. It was more like a wholesaling course. Yeah. And I think that was at least the thing that we went for a weekend, and then he ended up buying into it and did a longer program. But we went for the weekend, and that ignited us. And from then on, we just kind of set out on a path. I was going to get my real estate license so that I could buy and sell for us. And he was going to do the wholesaling, not licensed. And that was kind of where we started.
Yeah. I'd say I think we both got really lucky in finding each other because we've always had that vision of investing in real estate. So I think it just feeds the fire that much more when you're with somebody who kind of has the same vision. So for me, the seed was planted really early. I think my mom took me to the first investing or wholesaling seminar I've ever been to. I was in high school. I think I was 14. It was at the convention center in Philly. Yeah.
Wow.
And back then my mom would tell me you need to get into real estate. I keep trying to tell you and your siblings, you all should be in real estate. And ironically, my parents weren't in real estate, but they planted that seed that I should be. And then we linked up, or we got together. And later on, it just made that much sense because we were always, it was always a goal of ours. So that initial course that we took, splurged. It was $27,000.
Yep.
Wow, that's an investment.
It was an investment. Yeah.
It was burn the boats. This has to work now. Basically money that we really did not have.
No.
Did they tell you to put it on your credit card too?
Yes,
Exactly.
they did.
Oh, you'll make it back. Pay it off. Right?
They had you call your credit card companies to see what limit they increase you to.
Yeah. You know how it goes.
Oh,
Yeah.
They have that game down.
Yep.
They do.
So with that, what did you guys get started in first? What was your first investment property, or was it wholesaling or?
Yeah, so we were at wholesaling for I'd say close to a year, and we got approached with the opportunity to partner a property management company, and that took us into sort of a long segue from our investing journey because we really we got so engrossed in doing that that we kind of were so busy that we didn't have the time or the resources or any energy to actually do our own investments.
And I'd say while you were doing that, the property management, I was pretty much doing retail real estate at that point.
Yeah. I don't regret it because it gave me all the experience that I have and even her being involved in that to a degree. It gave us the confidence and the experience that we have to basically go after anything. Because at the height of it, we were managing about 350 properties or units. And eventually we decided we had to reset and get out of that if we wanted to actually progress on our goals for ourselves and for our family. So 2021 was kind of a hard pivot for us. We exited the management company and then we started buying our own units.
Well, you guys had a wholesale deal that he brought to agents here at Vanguard and nobody wanted the deal. So he was like, okay, I guess we'll buy it. And that was our first BRRRR. We still own that property. It's our only single family property rental. And I think that was literally the first buy and hold we ever
That's
did.
true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was the jumping off point. BRRRR'd that, pulled the cash out of that, and then the next deal we bought was a 13 unit in Pottstown. Just rolled the cash in and other cash, and that was where it started.
Yeah, kept it
Pretty
going.
cool how so you went to a wholesaling seminar, right?
Yep.
Well, you learned at 14 you should buy real estate from your mom. Thank God she told you that, planted the seed. And then you guys went out, started doing some wholesaling, and then you got detoured with you getting into property management, and then Hannah into residential real estate sales, and then came kind of full circle back with the wholesaling, couldn't sell a deal, and you said, why don't we keep it? That's kind of what happened.
Pretty much. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then you said went right from a 1 unit to 13 unit.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think the one
That's a big
thing
jump.
is that he wasn't scared because of the property management
Yeah.
experience. There was that lack of fear of, I can handle this. So
Yeah.
That was nice that you were able to not look at that as a total waste of time,
Yeah.
but to say, it built character in terms of handling this landlording business.
he's
Yeah.
really good at not regretting anything.
That's good.
So, yeah.
I mean, that's generally how I look at life. If it doesn't kill you, it's a lesson and makes
Yeah.
you stronger.
And was it just like with the management that you were just like, why are we handling all these other people's headaches versus creating wealth for ourselves? Was that kind of the switch that flipped, or what was it specifically?
That was pretty much it. I mean, at the end of the day, obviously management is a tough business. It's, sort of the toughest part of the equation. So we were dealing with all the tenant headaches, the repairs, maintenance, to a degree where we were actually helping some of the clients buy these properties. We're fixing them up and we're leasing them up and then we're managing them. It's like we're managing the whole cycle all the way through. We're just getting none of the upside. And in the beginning, it seemed like it was a cool idea because we're making the fees and all that.
Yeah.
And then when you see what you're actually giving up for that, and then the price that we're paying for that, our goals, being added on top of that, actually pushing our goals out to the future, it was like this equation doesn't work out.
That was the biggest price, right? Putting your
the
goals
time.
out. Yeah.
Because, so consumed with all of those projects that the time wasn't there to actually go hunt our own deals.
So what would you recommend for anyone that's like, really trying to figure out which direction to head getting into real estate investing? Because it's one thing if you learn from your own mistakes, which hopefully we all do. Some of us like to repeat our mistakes over and over, but the best thing is if you can learn from other people's mistakes. Yeah. So what would you guys share with that, just based upon that conversation we just had?
One thing I always say is just, you have to just do it. Just jump in. That's one thing about both of us that I think makes us a good team, is that when we decide we're going to do something, we just do it. We jump in, and we don't second guess ourselves. So I think that if you want to do it, just do it. I'd also say partnering up with somebody, not taking on the whole burden of the project yourself, would be my second recommendation.
Yeah, and I'd say I think folks need to really just get educated about the whole game of investing instead of just looking at it. You hear passive investing so much, right? And you own real estate and it's passive income. And the way I look at it, if anything that you
kind
invest
of the
in,
biggest joke, isn't it?
Yeah. If anything that you invest like a majority of your like net worth, your resources into is passive, like you should be a little afraid. Like you have to know what you're invested in and know how to manage it and know how to control it and know how to jump in and take charge if something goes wrong. And I think that if I were talking to someone just looking to get started, I would say, like, understand the major pieces of the equation. And I think that is, buying, how to buy, not being speculative, but buying assets at good price points where you'll be protected. Learning how to manage, because if you have a property manager that is sort of, losing money, you won't know a lot of times what mistakes they're making or what's going on if you don't know anything about property management. So that's a big mistake I think I see a lot of people making.
So you're saying even if you're not going to manage your property, have some knowledge in property management or landlording so that you can manage your manager.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. Yeah. And I think those are the two main pieces, knowing how to buy and really evaluate and know what a good deal is and knowing how to manage. And I think if you can get your arms wrapped around that, you're setting yourself up for success instead of hoping that somebody else does right by you.
Yeah, that's good wisdom. What about with, going from 1 unit to 13, right? And I know your background, right? Because of the management, you guys were comfortable with that. For someone else that doesn't have that background and they're like, well, yeah, I just bought a rental or two, maybe. How do you go from 1 to 13? Like walk us through the mindset, and then if you have any tips on evaluating the property, anything that might just be helpful for someone looking to go from one to many.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think starting out, it's all about, those two pieces that I mentioned. And after that, I mean, it's basically rinse and repeat. And I say that other than knowing what to do is staying within your confidence level, within your level of competence and what you really feel comfortable doing. It sounds cool to have more units, but it might not be the thing for you if more units scares you.
Yeah.
So I wasn't scared by more units. I was like, oh, this is a piece of cake.
Right.
So that was one of the things that was to our benefit in scaling up quickly. But I would say, rinse and repeat, one deal at a time, and start to look at bigger unit deals as you get more comfortable managing or looking over what you already have.
Yeah, exactly.
So learn to run a mile, then 2 miles, then 3 miles. Don't go from one to a marathon.
I was going to say we're huge proponents of multifamily, but I was going to say, depending on the level of expertise the investor has, I was like, just start out with one. Just find a 1 unit build or a 1 unit property and do that first.
Yeah, do something.
Yeah. And partners, like I said, partners, if you don't know, partner with somebody who does know. And I think that alleviates a lot of the fear and risk.
Now, I want to shift the conversation a little bit because I like to see what people's strengths are. And I don't know if you guys would agree with this, but from the little bit that I do know about you and your businesses, you guys focus a lot on systems, processes, and efficiencies. And how has that impacted your business in terms of being able to scale and handle more?
I'll say Tyrone has great background experience that he's the COO of his other company, his other business. And so that's his focus, and everything that we've done to scale in terms of employees and properties has been because of him. So
thanks, babe.
yeah. So you answered the question.
I've always kind of had I'll call it a gift, but naturally my mind just kind of gravitates towards breaking things down like step by step. And then sort of, I guess it started when I was a kid. Like I've always been like an engineer kind of in my mind. Like I would just take things apart and put them back together. Like it always bothered me to like not understand how something works. So I kind of approach business the same way. It's like taking apart all the pieces of it and then really simplifying. If you can get everything down in its own corridor to like what drives momentum, what drives forward progress, what systems do you need in place to make sure that things kind of stay within the realm of where you want them to be, and then kind of reverse engineering it that way and putting it all back together, then you're really setting yourself up for success. So that's kind of the way I looked at the real estate business. That's the way I look at life in general. I'm a long-term kind of guy, so I don't believe in like really getting into something that I don't see like huge upside in, like at some point in the future. And that always starts with like the huge upside, what I see, and then kind of trying to work backwards. Okay, what kind of people am I going to need to get to that goal? What kind of process am I going to need to get to that goal? What systems, like what energy has to be put behind this to get it to that point? And I think if folks like kind of start out with a long-term view, then that'll really help put you in the mindset that you need to be in to really go the long haul and really like set yourself up.
And along with that mindset is because he has a long-term vision. I'd say we're not as scared to, but definitely him more so, to invest in the company. And so, hold off on some of those gains or those returns because we're investing. So, and being willing to invest in your learning and in building your team. And so he's just really willing to do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And, you guys definitely have some complementary strengths and weaknesses where you guys work together. And we can cut this out if you want, but as a married couple, a lot of people like the idea of working together. Do you mind sharing some of the ups and the downs of that? Because, it's really something that I think that it's ideal in a lot of people's mind to work together on the same thing with their life partner, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't work and sometimes it does. And, any wisdom you guys can share on that, because it seems that you guys are doing pretty well working in that capacity together? Obviously, it's always challenging working with anyone, and then it's always challenging being in a relationship with anyone, and you marry the two together.
Yeah.
You know, so anything you can just share, just from coming from a place of like honesty, integrity, just being like real and honest about what that's really like and how you can really make a difference for maybe a couple that's out there thinking about working together, and, you know, steer them in one way or another, give them some like sage wisdom.
Okay, I'll answer first.
Give it to us.
Okay, well, I love being with him. I could be with him all the time, so I really like working with him. And I was like, and it's fun also just to have a shared passion and a shared interest. And so like when we talk, like so many of our conversations are about business and about what we're doing and growing and moving forward. Sometimes I'm like, can we not have any work talk? And he's like, babe, it's not work talk, it's life talk. And so there is that, like there is no separation. Right. It's just always there.
Thank you for being honest, right?
But one of the challenges is that we are very different, especially about time. So where I have a strong sense of urgency, Tyrone does not. And so sometimes, like, you know, especially with me in the agent role, and I have a sense of urgency, I'm like, you know, sometimes I feel like I'm just like follow up master. And like, that's all I have to do is just like keep following up, keep following up, keep following up. And you'd think that would be easy with your spouse, but it's actually more difficult, I find, because yeah, like, cause it's easier for him probably to blow me off when he doesn't want to give me an answer or timeline. So sometimes I feel like I'm in the nagging role of like, okay, when are we going to get this? When will I have this? What are we doing with this project? And he's just way more laid back than I am.
Cool.
Yeah.
Tyrone, anything to share on that?
Well, working with your spouse is great.
There you go.
No, I think that I'll be honest. Actually, it's funny because we talked about the investing seminars before, right?
Yeah.
So when you talk to folks at seminars and, you know, that are going through different things like that and they're trying to get into something, one of the biggest things that you hear is like their spouse not being on board with what they want to do, right? And that being like something that's holding them back. Like I've heard that from like a number of people, like
people love that excuse.
Yeah.
They really love that
a
one.
lot. I hear it at masterminds. Yeah. I hear it at like investor meetups.
Yesterday.
Yeah. But with that being said, I would say that while it might sound cool and sound ideal for, you know, you to work with your spouse, it's not for everybody. If you don't have again, it comes back to that vision. Like, what's the vision for, you know, what we want to create with what we're doing? If you can't get aligned on that, you probably shouldn't be working together, because you're just really going to stress each other out, I think, if you're not heading in the same direction. And, you know, honestly, we struggled earlier on not to get on board, you know, get on the same page as far as the vision, but like how we were going to get there. Again, like she's a very like, you know, strong action taker, like get after it. Like, let's just do something. And I'm like a lot more methodical. Like I tend to slow things down. And the way I look at it is like, I want to make sure it's exactly what we should be doing and try to optimize the path or plan the strategy before I actually get started. So while I'm like strategizing and it seems like I'm not moving, she's like coming after me. Like, why is this taking so long? And the thing is, but she knows once I do get going and I do decide it's time to go, then like, you know, so I'm like a freight train. So us understanding that about each other and how that works, you know, she can put up with me more now when she's waiting on me, because she knows that like, if I decide the opportunity is like the timing is right, then I'm like, you know, then I want to talk about it, you know, all hours of the night and on the weekends and everything else when we're hanging out with the kid, and she's like getting tired of me, and learn how to read those signs too over the years. Like now, instead of like waiting until I get snapped on, I can kind of look at her and I'm like, it's not the time.
And I'd also say having faith. Like I have a great deal of faith in him and trust in him and just really, really believe in him. And I don't think if I didn't feel that way, this whole process would be a lot more difficult.
Yeah. I think, to kind of add on to that, naturally, it just made sense for us to work together, right? And you can kind of feel that out. We want the same thing. We want it the same way. Figure out, you know, come into terms on like the methods and stuff, but all that works out. If it's not natural, then sometimes forcing it might just do more damage to the relationship, you know?
Well, I commend you guys for figuring it out, because it's not that easy to figure out. And one kind of funny question: does Tyrone have SOPs that you have to follow? Standard operating procedures?
No.
Okay. I didn't know.
I try to create my own sometimes.
Okay.
I tried that.
I could see.
Yeah.
So, but you guys do kind of have an idea of what does Hannah do? What does Tyrone do? What do you guys do together?
Yes.
You know, so more like maybe different buckets that you guys work in and stay out of the other person's bucket to an extent.
Yes.
Yeah. It crosses over. I mean, where it needs to, but for the most part, that's it. I tried to create to the other question. It's funny. I tried to create this very elaborate, like life management system
you know,
in
he really
Podio
did.
for us. And it went through everything, like health, like finances, how we manage like all of our assets. I mean, this thing is blown out. It's probably like 40 apps in this thing. And to me, I'm like, this is beautiful because I just go in there and type stuff in when I think about it. And then it's there. To her, she just looked at this thing, got so overwhelmed. She's like, this is crazy. Like, there's no way I'm going to be updating this thing every day.
It wasn't even a user-friendly
What did you eat
platform.
at 7 a.m.? What are you doing at 7:15?
Yeah.
That's awesome, though.
Oh, I forgot about that. That was a good answer.
So long she forgot about it, I still use it. Cool.
She had to block it out. It's too overwhelming. Well, thank you guys for sharing that because it takes something to be honest about it. And I'm sure there's some downside, to working together, but you got to focus on the positive. And as long as it outweighs that, it can be a beneficial thing.
Yeah.
So kind of what do you, like, you guys kind of gave a little backstory about where you were, a little bit about where you are now and what you're working on. What's next? What's coming down the pike for the Taylors?
I don't even know if we said where we are now. We kind of
I don't know if you talked about the other buildings, but you could touch on that.
You want to touch on that? Or? I mean, it's part of what's next.
Yeah, I think it is part of what's next.
Yeah, I mean,
at this point.
Yeah, we've scaled. We had some, we've made some good progress over the past couple of years. We scaled our portfolio. Now we're at 44 units. We have a few offers floating around out there, so we'll see if that goes up a bit in the next, couple of months or so. But really, and this goes back to my experience in property management. One of the things that really bothered me about the business was that it just was not structured and set up for that long-term vision from the jump. And for that reason, I'm really focused now on making sure that we are primed for success for the long term, and that our, again, the systems, processes, it sounds like so cliche, but literally systems, processes, and people, it all comes back to that. Like if you get those three things right, I mean, a lot of other things kind of will get worked out. So right now we're doing a lot on the organizational development side, making sure that we have the right team in place, making sure that our team members are properly trained, making sure that SOPs and everything is in place, that they're in place to set us up to make sure that we're doing more executing and less thinking and having to revisit, the same issues over and over again. So I think that's a big part of it. Marketing has become a very big focus of ours. In addition to wanting to grow a portfolio and do the whole real estate thing, we really do believe in like actually pouring out and adding value to people. And through helping folks to invest and learn how to invest and get started, we see that as being one big way that we can contribute to a lot of people. So we're working on methods and ways that we can do that. And that comes down to the marketing thing and other stuff that we're working on, projects to try to get that going. But it's really about scale from here. Right? I think we have a good foundation where we are, set it up to scale, and then I just want to launch and like just run hard.
Also, I would just say we have already gotten more focused, but I would say that's also going forward is being more focused. Like, as an agent, I see cool things. I'm like, oh, that'd be a cool flip, or look at this, like 2-unit building. Like, that's cool. That's kind of a good deal. That's priced right. And I get excited, but those aren't for us. We're looking for larger multifamily properties in Westchester or Chester County, Delaware County, Montgomery County. Like we know our area, we know what type of building and the size of building. And so we really kind of focus on, I think, just narrowing that down and honing in and not getting distracted by other cool opportunities.
Yeah. She loves houses.
Yeah, that's the realtor ADD, and I mean I have it too. I'm like, oh, I should buy that. And he's like, nope, calm down.
Yeah.
No, it's a lot of really important things for people, getting started or scaling up to really think about, the end goal in mind, and then how to get there, and what kind of structure do you need? Who's your team? what does that look like? What is the step-by-step process, and to build that out, because when you take that approach, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
And when you don't take that approach,
it's not easy at first. It's
no,
a lot of work.
It's not easy. I don't want to say that it's easy,
but
it's, it's a lot smoother in the long run.
Yeah.
So you're thinking about the long game, the end game, making wise decisions that will benefit the longer term. So I love that thought process. Yeah. Well, I would appreciate you guys being on. Anything that you mind sharing just around, the whole intention of this podcast is to transform the human mindset from scarcity and lack to abundance and wealth. And anything you want to share just around mindset, anything you had to overcome with, being up against different deals, or just feeling like maybe we can't do this, or fear. When I say scarcity and lack, it's really fear.
Yeah.
And when I say abundance and wealth, it's really faith.
Yeah.
Right. And I know you said you have a lot of faith in Tyrone, and how did you guys work through that? So anything you just want to share around that, because I think that's the information that we share could potentially impact someone else from, being in that place of scarcity and lack, feeling they can't do this, it's not going to work for them. Good for you guys, but I'm different. Whatever way you can phrase it in your own words, but to shift that mindset from, say, fear to faith.
I would say I definitely had imposter syndrome, and that was hard to get over. Just feeling like I wasn't quite equipped to be doing these things. And then I think part of that is, one, just being honest. So sometimes, like, doing new things, being honest with the people that I'm engaging with about, what I do know, and asking for help when I don't know something. And also just knowing where my strengths are and realizing I don't have to be strong at everything. I'm not the numbers person. I'm very intuitive. Like, I can just kind of look at something and think, like, I think this would be a good opportunity, but then I pass it to him, and he has to run the numbers and actually look at it from that standpoint. And a lot of times we're on the same page, but it takes that, and I don't have to do everything. So
yeah, that's good.
That was helpful.
I would say just a couple things. I think that everybody should know, regardless of where you come from, what you have, what resources, you have available to you, who who your parents were, all that. Like, I came from a not much in Philadelphia. Growing up, like, we always struggled. My parents always struggled, and, struggling to keep the utilities on, and just like, I was trapped in that scarcity mindset for a big part of my life, like most of my life now. I'm 39 now. And now coming out of that and being able to shift to the other side, well, I feel like the world is literally at my fingertips, and it's all about what I put into action to make it happen. I think that everybody should know that, like, what you need to be successful is truly within you. Like, you have it. You have it. Like, you just have to get your mind wrapped around that and start to take action based on that belief. And if you don't have it, you can figure it out. You can learn it. If you
everything's knowable.
Everything, yeah, you can figure out anything. You can learn anything. You know somebody, or somebody within your network, or somebody knows someone who can help you, right? So whatever block you can think of, whatever excuse you can put in front of yourself, you can get through that if you think on the other side of it, or how do I attain what I'm missing? And if you know that, it doesn't have to all be what you know and what you have. You can figure it out. Then you know that you truly are capable once you have it. So go get it, Just one last thing I want to, just because I think it's important for people to really get their minds wrapped around two concepts that I feel that people don't pay enough attention to, I would say. It's financial security and financial freedom, right? I think it's really hard to be your best in life, the best parent, the best spouse, the best friend, the best anything, when you're not financially secure, and when you don't have financial freedom. And by freedom, I mean, like, if you lost your job, what happens to you, 6 months from now, when that unemployment runs out? I think so many folks are, like, with the blinders on, operating in the climate that they're currently in. They think that things don't change. And there's a lot of people working in Walmart who are, senior citizens who probably thought the same thing. It's like, take control and know that there's a reason why you need those two things in your life, and then know that you can do it.
Yeah, that's huge. That goes right to, our mission at the brokerage is to fulfill human potential by providing a pathway to financial freedom with exactly what you said. You can't be your best. Like, you have a potential to live into. It's actually your responsibility as a gift of life to live into your potential. And by not being responsible with your finances, you're actually, you're kind of in a sense saying, hey, I'm not really going to try. Yeah. You know, I'm not going to really try to be my best. And I'm not saying money's everything, but we live in this society. I mean, try to go eat without food, you know, unless you're a farmer, and then you still got to buy something, you know. But yeah, very well said, Tyrone. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you, Hannah. With that said, I know you guys come from that genuine place of helping others and making a difference and contributing and giving back. What are some ways that people could potentially benefit by working with you guys, and then how to reach out to you?
Okay. So, as I mentioned earlier, you know, we're starting to focus and shift towards like how we can pass on what we know to help others grow. So we're actually in the process of starting a coaching program, and the need for this, or not, I won't say the need, but kind of the strategy for it has been like, it's been up here like for the past 3-4 years, right? I feel like it's like one of those things like like as they say, the bamboo, like, you know, it was growing under the soil for all this time and it just sprouted out. Like, I think when it finally comes out, people are going to be like, where did this come from? But literally, we've been working on this, and I've been working on, you know, learning and developing and taking courses. And I've spent thousands of dollars in courses over the past 2-3 years, like just to learn the whole business and all that, because I want to give that to others. Again, that financial freedom, or the security first, then the freedom, and then unlocking what you're capable of and encouraging people to do that for your family, for your community. You know, it spreads out like a ripple effect. And if you don't have much, you can't give much, you know? So, you know, by working with us, I mean, we're extremely passionate about helping people. We're extremely passionate about walking you through the steps one by one and doing it, you know, pretty shoulder to shoulder to make sure that you're successful, because I know what it's like to come from a place where you're struggling to survive. And I hate to see people in that position.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hannah, anything else you want to add to that?
Not necessarily, but
how about like if people are looking to buy properties or anything like that?
If you're looking to buy or sell, I'm here.
What areas do you cover?
Chester, Montgomery, and Delaware counties. And I'll just say, I get so excited about things I find that I'm like, oh, somebody needs to buy this. I need to find somebody to buy this. If we're not going to buy it, somebody needs to. So especially if anybody's interested in looking for an investment property or their first investment property, like that, I'm very passionate about that.
Let me ask you a follow-up question to that. Are there deals out there?
Yes.
See?
I was like,
not even hesitation. Not even hesitation.
On market too.
So do you want to work with the agent that's like, oh, there's no deals out there, you know? Or do you want to work with someone with that kind of attitude that absolutely didn't even hesitate? So what's the best way for people to reach out to you guys?
I'm at, Tailored Realty Services on social media. And you are at?
This is Tyrone Taylor on Instagram. Our investment company is Anchor Property Solutions. We're on all the major channels.
We'll make sure to post everything below.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for being on. Appreciate your time. Hope the listeners found value in this, and reach out to Hannah and Tyrone if there's anything they can help you with.
Okay. Awesome.
Thanks
so much.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.